whale. She does have somewhat of a point. Now, before everybody comes for me, I want to make something very clear. I am not attacking anyone with borderline personality disorder, but I do think that it is almost as important as NPD to spread awareness on. They are both cluster B personalities. NPD, BPD, ASPD, cluster B personality. Now, as I was talking about the other day with the difference between ADHD and NPD, and giving the example about how they are two different food groups. Apple, ribeye. ADHD is a neurological disorder, NPD is a behavioral disorder. But when you take NPD and BPD and compare them, you're comparing an apple and an orange. They're within the same group, and both cluster B personalities. Now, let me tell y'all something. People with BPD, they do not have an easy time. One of the biggest differences between NPD and BPD, narcissists are driven by their perpetual need for outside validation in order to boost their own sense of self-worth and self. People with BPD have a deep-seated fear of abandonment and often fluctuating self-image, which is why you will see a lot of symptoms of borderline personality disorder actually dissipating when not in a relationship. The central motivation for both is what makes them different. This also helps shine a light on the question of genetic components between NPD and BPD and all cluster B personalities actually, because people with NPD and BPD are not born that way. I personally do not know definitively, but there is absolutely no definitive study that would suggest that borderline personality disorder, NPD, cluster B personality are genetic in any way. However, I will say that if you have a parent or someone that is raising you that does have a cluster B personality, you are far more likely to develop one as well, because you are being raised by someone who is more likely to emotionally stunt you when your brain is developing, with a higher propensity of childhood trauma, dysfunction, irregulation in emotions, leading to a higher likelihood that you will develop a cluster B personality as well. Or, as I've said, go the opposite direction, or the opposite direction where you are far more likely to attract these type of personalities as an adult. And again, this is not meant to attack anybody who has borderline personality disorder, because I understand, as someone who has had severe CPTSD, which mirrored a lot of BPD symptoms, it is extremely difficult to have this condition. But just to note something here, it is also difficult for anyone who is in a relationship with a person with BPD. When you have emotionally stunting factors that halts your brain developing at a normal capacity, there is absolutely no way that you are not going to affect others later on. Now, I will say that people with BPD are far more likely than those with NPD to seek therapy and mental health. All cluster B personalities genuinely need consistent, constant therapy. People with NPD are not very likely to go. People with ASPD are probably forced to go, and people with BPD are more likely to voluntarily do so, which can absolutely lower the volatility level that they bring to others. Just food for thought.